In this video, in this training, we are discussing fear, specifically what can happen with fear when we're starting to launch a business coaching practice as a faith-driven entrepreneur, as a person of faith, as a Christian professional. You might be considering, or maybe you've already started, might be considering business coaching as your next chapter, where you are in life, what you're doing, and you see this. Maybe you've been thinking about it for we hear that all the time from folks. I coach people already. I encourage them. I love the structure of being able to help people on their journey to improve, to get better, all that good stuff. And you look at that, and you know, let's just say you start the journey. You're excited. You're excited for the things to come. You feel like, you know, you're following what God's kind of showing you. He's putting people in your place. Maybe you're working with our team. If not, that's fine. Maybe you're doing something on your own, or you're working with somebody else, whatever. And here's a couple of things that we see happen from time to time. And it's easy and it's natural because it's human nature. And that is, one, the details of getting started. We start questioning the details. And it can be the littlest of things. Getting the website up and running, getting your logo, like, well, what if this, or what if that? And all of a sudden, we start turning all of these little details into, you know, we're treating them as big picture stuff. They're important, but they're not big picture. They're just not, all right? And we let those details begin to distract us from doing the most important work. And we'll even consciously and subconsciously convince ourselves that those details matter so much that I can't move forward. And then what will happen is that I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it next week. Next week turns into 3 weeks, it turns into 3 months. And then we begin to start to sweat and improve the anxiousness and our anxieties over the fact that we haven't done anything. And then what happens is we start building up on that momentum, and that fear begins to go the what if route. What if this doesn't work? What if I'm really not good enough? What if I miss God's voice? What if I can't find a client? What if they don't listen to me? Like the lies and the lies that are compounded together, they begin to stack on one to another, to one to another. And we start to succumb to that. And then that turns into this whole ball of anxiety called fear. And then what begins to happen, even as believers, as people of faith, your heart is pure, you love the Lord, you want to be on track, but we let this fear turn into reality. So we stop questioning those things and we start believing those things. So in the beginning, it's what if, what about, and then if we're not careful, it turns into I can't, it won't, it's not possible, I won't be able to, and we start to believe all that mess. Man. Yet, in the beginning, before we got started, we saw this, we said, this was an opportunity to fulfill the destiny that I believe that's in my path. I love to help people, I love to coach people, I've been doing it for free for quite some time. I feel very called, I feel very drawn to doing this line of work, to doing this type of work. But at the end of the day, we've some kind of, so what do we do? As far as I'm concerned, there's one big thing. One, I am a firm believer that when we are consistently, and studies have shown this, one of the largest nonprofit groups out there that has data and research about the church, Barna, they have published these studies time in and time out about the fact that when someone sticks their face in the Bible every day, in other words, we are spending time in the Word every single day, things like anxiety, things like fear diminish automatically because of I'm not, stating something that you probably don't already know, but it has a significant and a tremendous impact on your output, especially when you're getting started with something where there's a lot of unknowns. And fair enough, you start a business, there are a lot of unknowns. And so we have to fight against that. And I'm about to cross the street here, so I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing here. We want to be able to understand that what we're doing when we're spending time reading scripture and digesting scripture, it's like medicine. It has the ability to ward off the anxiety, to ward off the fear. That's step number one. And I know that you're like, well, duh. Well, you can say that, but do we do it? And so when we look at building businesses, in this case, a business coaching practice as a person of faith, we look at the foundational, fundamental root reasons of growth, and the biblical context is already there. Anxiety will go down when we are rooted in faith through the reading of inconsistent reading daily, making it a habit of scripture. That's number one. Number two, one of my favorite verses ever, 2 Corinthians 10:5. Paul is essentially giving a charge to the church. And he essentially take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. Not suggesting, by the way, that this is like beyond super simple, but it is beyond possible. And so when that thought of fear creeps into our mind, it's like, no, I'm not going to believe that lie, because that lie has the opportunity to sabotage my success, my opportunity, my family legacy, the things that I've desired. I believe that business coaching has the ability to give me the freedom, the flexibility to achieve what it is that I want to be able to achieve. So I'm not going to listen to that. I'm not going to believe that, because that's just not who I'm going to be, and I'm not going to succumb to that. And so constant reading of the scripture, applying the scripture, in this case, 2 Corinthians 10:5. And then the third, we get some accountability somewhere that we can not talk to someone on a consistent basis just to kibitz. In other words, just to complain. But we are able to, iron sharpens iron. But we are able to go with someone and say, this is the challenge that I have, and allow them to speak into me. And it needs to be somebody who is on your team. They're rooting for you. They are not naysayers. They're not somebody who is going to be against what it is that you're trying to accomplish. They might invest into you in a manner that you need to listen to, but they're there to encourage you. They're there to speak into you. They're there to be able to pray with you. They're there to be able to help you through these moments where you just, man, I'm not sure. And the fear's kind of getting up there, whatever. And those three things may sound simple, but it's life. One, you have to be consistent by being in the Word. Two, you have to be consistent by taking action to take thoughts and make them obedient to the Word. And the third, you have to take action and be open and willing to be vulnerable enough to have somebody as an accountability partner to share where your heart's at, what's going on, and what you need. So, as you're growing, as you're launching especially, as you're implementing, life is life. We live in a fallen world, and we're going to experience challenge. Bible's very clear about that. But we can do something about it. Sure, there's a lot more, but for today's purpose, I wanted to share that with you, that fear is real, but you have choices. Stephen Covey, talks about the word responsibility is the ability to choose your response. For some people, it might be a little more complicated than others, but regardless, we do have the power and the capability to choose. And my encouragement for you is to choose obedience in reading the scripture every day. Choose the obedience to making your thoughts, especially the ones that are lying to you, to choose to make them obedient to Christ. And the third, loneliness is an epidemic. You don't want it. I would not encourage you to do this alone. Find someone that you can pray with, that you can spend time with, and just sharing where you are so that they can encourage you and to invest into you. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're consistent with those three things, you have the opportunity to eradicate the fear that's real, that's real, the process of us allowing fear to creep into our minds and into impacting our ability. If you'll do those three things, I'm a believer, I've lived it, I watch it all the time. Those who do it and are consistent with it have the opportunity to build a successful, strong, sustainable, profitable business coaching practice. Okay, there you go. Hope that adds value to you today.